Cult of Love is about a family gathering during the Christmas holiday, which begs the question, is this the perfect show to see while you're visiting New York City for the holiday season? And in a way, yes, and in a way, no. I think the setting of the show being at a family home and it's nice and decorated for the holiday season. Oh, the set design is beautiful. It's so cozy by John Lee Beatty. I really enjoyed the set design. It really did feel like a family home. It was just so beautiful and so inviting. Side note, on the playbill, the poster of the show has the picture of the Christmas tree on fire. And I am sad to report that the Christmas tree does not catch on fire during the show. I was kind of looking forward to it. The show doesn't need it. Like, it doesn't need that spectacle. But at the same time, when I saw it on the playbill, I was like, that's going to be fun to see. Oh, and then there was snow. So when you look out the windows, it was snowing outside on stage. And it got to the point where I kind of forgot, like I was so invested in the setting that I was like, oh, like I can't wait to get outside and like walk in this beautiful snowfall. And then I was like, oh, wait. Like, it's not snowing outside. That's just on stage. When it comes to the subject matter, this is where I wonder if it really is the right thing to see with your adult family during the holiday season. The main three talking points in the show revolve around religion, sexuality, and substance abuse. So I really wanted to share those up front because the show could either be very cathartic or it may provoke painful memories and experiences that you may not have wanted out of your experience of seeing a Broadway show. Me personally, I was somewhere in the middle of it feeling cathartic based on just what the characters were saying to each other. But then there were points where I was just like, I'd like to leave the party. And another thing that made me want to leave the party was the singing. At first, it starts off kind of sweet. You know, like family traditions are a wonderful thing. I kind of got what they were doing with it, but eventually they just sing way too much. And I love musicals. This is a play with music. It's not a musical. They were doing something where like the music was kind of like a band-aid for the family's problems or as a way to pacify the arguments that the audience witnesses. But honestly, they sang so much. If I was at that party, I would have been like, oh, I have to go use the bathroom. And then I just would have found a bedroom or like gone upstairs and just like was scroll on my phone until it was time to leave. The show is already a short show. It's an hour 40 to an hour 45 minutes. I think it could have been an easy hour 30 minutes if they just cut like 2 or 3 songs, and they go on for a very, very long time. They're not like short numbers. When the characters are not singing, the script actually does build quite nicely. I do think that Leslye Headland does a nice job kind of building to climactic moments within the characters' discussions with each other, and then, of course, in physical action. So in that regard, I think that the writing is successful. However, there are some pitfalls when it comes to the writing, just in terms of how Leslye Headland writes about certain topics that I think might be hit or miss. There were some things that I thought were overly generalized or not nuanced enough when it came to the difficult topics that were discussed here, but I think that's subjective, and you may find that it's very nuanced and that you really enjoy the depth in which they approach these conversations. I mean, they have this ongoing idea of a family being a version of a cult. And I like that idea. I think it's really interesting. But to me, the show doesn't quite land it as best as I think it could have landed it. The conflicts between some of the characters it don't seem to get resolved as the show wants you to think that they do. And I actually really enjoyed a lot of the characters that we see in the show, but at the same time, like for different reasons. Some of them just like really annoyed me, but they were supposed to. And then others I would like really want to hang out with at this party. I mean, for example, Molly Bernard plays Rachel Dahl. She's married into the Dahl family via her husband, Zachary Quinto, who's one of the 4 main siblings of the family. What I really liked about her is that she sort of acted as like the voice of the audience. I'll say the voice of me, like things that she said to some of the characters, I was wishing I could say to some of those characters. And I just thought that she was hilarious. Molly Bernard is someone that I would really like to see get a nomination. And I liked her relationship with Zachary Quinto's character, Mark Dahl, though I will say Zachary Quinto's performance didn't really stick out to me in terms of Zachary Quinto's delivery. It was just kind of one note. But I really liked with this character how it explored his relationship with religion and how all of his siblings all grew up in a very religious household and how his idea of religion differs so differently than some of his siblings. Evie is his sister. I keep forgetting. if they were saying Evie or Evie, and I tried looking it up. The way it's spelled makes me think it's Evie, but for some reason, I strongly think that they called her Evie on stage. So I'm going to go with that, but I might be wrong. Let me know in the comments. Her character, again, I also felt was kind of one note. I felt sympathy for this character and I related to aspects of this character, but I just didn't. I didn't feel like I connected with her. Roberta Colindrez plays Evie's wife, Pippa Ferguson. Roberta is Joan from Fun Home. So that was a night. Like, I forgot to read the playbill when I sat down in the theater. So when I saw her walk on stage, I was like, oh my God, it's Joan. That was really cool. And she plays a very cool character. I really, really liked her in this role. Her character is kind of low key and very mellow energy. She is able to find those highs and lows within her character. And it comes across as very authentic. And I was very impressed with Roberta's performance. Roberta is someone else that I would be really happy to see get a nomination out of her performance here. Pippa and Rachel are the two characters that I would be like standing in the corner at the party with, just like drinking our drinks and watching all of the shenanigans happen around us. I like those two I would stick with at the party. It's funny, most of the characters that I really liked were not immediate members of the doll family. Another doll sibling is Johnny, played by Christopher Sears. He brings Loren, played by Barbie Ferreira, to the Christmas party. Their characters enter way too late into the story, if you ask me. I saw some marketing and advertisements for the show before I went. You know, it said like starring Barbie Ferreira, and then she was like barely in the show. There were points where I was like, are one of these amazing actors on stage an understudy for Barbie? Because she was just like not there. Her character does enter, but I have to say both her and Johnny have very little to do in the show. And I wonder if it was even worth bringing these characters in to begin with. I mean, what I think the purpose of these characters are to change the subject matter. They're both in recovery for substance abuse. I appreciate the conversation, but it just felt like their characters needed a bit more meat, especially because we do get to know Loren's character Barbie a little bit, and Johnny, Christopher Sears' character, kind of get to know through his family talking about him before he arrives, but then I don't really feel like I got to know him at all. But Christopher Sears is an incredible actor and does make Johnny feel fully developed and fully like someone you may actually know in real life. So good for him for kind of creating that character. And Barbie Ferreira, she makes choices and she sticks with them, which I can appreciate, though I may not agree with those character choices. However, she's consistent. And she is also very, very funny. She has these incredible one-liners, and some of them even earned applause from the audience. So good for Barbie. I really liked Bill Dahl. He's a very sweet man. Bill is played by David Rasche. The character also has a very upsetting backstory that we often don't see a character like this, meaning men of a certain age, discuss openly. It really paints the picture as to the type of home he wanted to create for his children and the why he wants to just enjoy the holiday, spending the holidays with them. Just him being like, I don't care about our differences. I just want to spend time with you while I'm here. And that's where I feel that the memory issues affecting the character, though relatable, and I think many people who go see the show may be going through this experience with a loved one. It is nice that there's that sort of representation there. I just think for the overall story, it may be a bit distracting. Mare Winningham, who plays Ginny, she's such a great and talented performer. We don't get to know too much about her besides the type of mother that she is and her religious beliefs. We really do get to know more about Bill just because of how it's written. So I think it was unfortunate that we don't get to kind of see what makes her tick in a way. She also has a very interesting quirk is that she takes every criticism as like a personal attack. We see this guilt tactic from Ginny to her adult children. Very toxic behavior, in my opinion. And I think that this character trait is another reason why the ending of the show, again, I'm not going to say anything, just doesn't work for me in terms of what we've seen versus how it ends. The characters that I would least like to hang out with if I was at this Christmas party are Diana and James Bennett. I would like to see both of these performers get nominated, Shailene Woodley and Christopher Lowell. Both of them do an incredible job at making these characters feel very real, which is, again, part of the reason why I wanted nothing to do with them. They say some really hateful stuff. What I really appreciate about the show is that it makes it very clear that religion does not justify hatred. That's like the main theme that I got out of it. I like that we're seeing that story on Broadway. Again, the show, it just may be too much of a slice of life for some people who may be looking for something on Broadway that's more escapist. Here is a view from my seat. Legroom was cramped, but not as bad as the mezzanine. On my Before It Closes journey, this is the first theater that I've seen 2 shows in, which, by the way, I just want to take a moment to thank you all so much. I just hit 200 subscribers on my channel, which I can't even believe right now. I'm kind of at a loss for words, but I really appreciate all of you who have supported me so far on this journey. Thank you so much for being here to discuss shows with me, whether you agree with my points or not. I'm so happy with the community that we're slowly building here, and just taking that moment to celebrate, because I'm having such a great time doing this. And I'll move on now, but thank you again for 200 subscribers. It really means the world to me. But it is funny that one of the first shows that I reviewed, Job, also played at the Hayes Theater, which starred Peter Friedman, who was in Succession, and also now at the Hayes Theater is David Rasche, who also starred in Succession, actually had a very similar role to Peter Friedman in that show. So I find it very funny that both of those performers have performed in this theater in 2024. But the view of the set was excellent. Let me know in the comment section if you've seen a show at the Hayes Theater. Like, is there a bad view? Because so far I sat in 2 very different places, and I don't know. Maybe it depends on the set that's in there, but I don't know if there's a bad view in that entire theater. It's the smallest Broadway venue. So you really can't go wrong. So, should you see Cult of Love Before It Closes on February 2nd? It is a heavier show, and you have to be into that. Again, it's not very escapist. So if you heard what I've said here and how I described it, and you think, oh, that might be a really nice cathartic experience, why not? Or again, if you really want to see a very specific celebrity perform on stage, I was able to get a rush ticket to see Cult of Love, which I was very grateful for. When I was checking ticket prices online before I went to the box office, everything was over $100. And quite frankly, I don't know if the show is worth that price for admission alone. Again, if you feel it's worth it to go see one of these stars on stage, I get it. That's your way of justifying the price. For me, the show alone, like if you took those celebrities out of it, I don't think it would be worth over $100 to see. Just my opinion. Those are my thoughts on Cult of Love, now playing at the Hayes Theater until February 2nd. I would love to read your thoughts in the comment section below. I would also really appreciate it if you gave this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to check out some of my other reviews and theater-related content on my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and remember to stay off your phones while at the theater.